Hey, this is Scott from Melted Bodies, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast.
You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
I can't complain at all. I got to tell you, absolutely love that single.
Oh, Liars?
Oh yeah, my God, it's got so much going on.
Yeah, it does.
It's so well produced, and it's been bang. I've been prepping all day, and I've been listening to that constantly. And it's every time I listen to it, there's another little thing I missed. Loving it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was a pain in the pain in the ass to balance all of it.
Was it really?
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
That's what I was saying. And was the response to it been good so far?
Yeah. I feel like we've seen a lot of attention from new listeners on that one. So it's nice. I feel like that one kind of helped branch out the audience a little bit more than maybe some of the other tracks. Therapy, the one that came out that preceded it, I feel like that came out and it just sort of energized our current existing fans,
right?
But Liars, yeah, it feels like brought in some new listeners, so we're stoked on that.
Cool. So I know the Inevitable Fork Volume 1 is complete, but is there a theme to the three of them then?
I mean, the story's kind of still writing itself, to be completely honest. We are still kind of regardless, there's a theme that permeates through the whole thing, and that's just kind of the concept of crossroads that we face in everyday life. Mm-hmm. Both ones that are internalized and ones that the world throws at us, on a micro and macro scale. So that's there. But in terms of like each installment, what they might embody, that remains to be seen. And still fleshing out all the fun little details of what's going to go into the full length.
So did you start out to write a themed record, or was it kind of a happy accident?
It revealed itself. Yeah, we didn't set out for anything conceptually, other than we wanted to just focus on themes that were a little bit more personal. The first album, Enjoy Yourself, was just pretty much strictly commentary for the most part. A few things that some motifs that carry on over into this album, but we didn't really just go like, all right, here's the idea, now we're going to make it. We just started making stuff.
You mentioned a little bit earlier that it's more personal. Do you ever find yourself questioning if it's too vulnerable to put out there, if you're throwing that much of yourself out?
No, I don't think so. Unless you embarrass yourself or say something, I don't know, generally uncomfortable, or I don't know. I don't think in art you can never be technically too revealing, because at the end of the day, it is still a story, and don't believe everything you read. So it's a presentation.
I also think, though, that it could be more organic that way too, then, right?
In what sense?
In that you're not really putting it together that way. It just kind of, it's more real and from the heart than it is for.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I'm having trouble.
It does. And like Andy, who writes all of the lyrics, he's the lead singer, guitarist. He's definitely, he prides himself in the ability to put together a story that isn't just that isn't just a story, you know. So much of the genre is, you know, based on like Tolkien, or you know,
Yes. Right.
it's just like a template for a horror movie.
Vikings and yeah.
Viking, yeah. And so he prides himself, and we pride ourselves on just the fact that, you know, we're just kind of speaking from the heart in different shapes or form, in different shapes and forms.
So I like I said, I think going back to the organic thing, I think fans connect with that a lot more, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, yes, Liars, I think, is a good example in terms of, we had people reach out and tell us it was like the first time they'd ever had a song of ours make them feel bad. And so,
Really?
yeah. I mean, when you really pay attention to the lyrics, it's unfortunate and sad, and I think incredibly relatable. And I think everyone does it, and you know, to some degree in their daily lives,
Right.
every day. Yeah.
I feel like that's sort of what extreme music should do, though, right? Expose the raw nerves and get you thinking. Expose.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, what else would you talk about? I mean,
Well, you could talk about Vikings and
Vikings and horror, yeah, slaughtering of lambs, yeah.
But on the flip side, you know, there are definitely those bands that have historically done that, and it sort of mirrors society and sort of forces you to think. The band in my head right this second is Soen, however you pronounce that. They're very much like that, you know, a mirror of what's going on. Sort of like the 60s were. The music was a mirror of what was happening.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the first time that really happened, and it was captivating. I think now there's just so much damn music that's happening all the time now, and you just got to find it. But one of the things that, you know, I don't want to say struggle, you know, people think we're weird. And so,
you mean as a group?
Yeah, as a sound. No, I think we're pretty actually chill people. But in terms of like stylistically and creatively, you know, we don't fit into a lot of boxes. And you know, this isn't to say that we aren't huge fans of all those different metal tropes. Like, we grew up on them, very stoked on them. But yeah, to kind of be a part of that, just to become a staple in that genre feels like a very uphill battle for us.
Yeah. Especially nowadays, right, where everybody's got access to social media, and it's a whole lot easier than it was on Pure Talent.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's a whole thing for sure. We're incredibly excited that all of the attention we have is purely organic, and we feel like it's the music standing on its own 2 feet. If anything, it feels like more of an upward struggle just to like get attention with amongst all the noise on social media.
Yes.
There's no like, you know, there's formulas, but there's no exact formula. You know, we have peers that have an insane amount of recognition on social media, and then, you know, they're trying to get their music heard by more people, and then you have us. We're very excited and grateful about the amount of people that listen to us, and then but you'd never know it from just looking at our social media presence. So
listening to you guys, and you kind of alluded to it, it's very, very multi-genre, like definitely thrashy and definitely Latin stuff going on. I think somewhere in the middle, sort of like an El Nino almost.
No, but I mean that wasn't deliberate, but that's
what I was reminded of somewhere just before the solo. It gets a little different, and so anyway.
Yeah, no, but I'll take it.
So yeah, but did you go into that stuff sort of intentionally, or is it kind of just what came out? Were you trying to not be, you know, just confined to one genre of metal?
I don't think that we didn't have any sort of mission, honestly. We just all like a lot of things. And so just Andy, who leads the charge, he creates sort of the template in the form of a like a rudimentary demo.
Mm-hmm.
We all familiarize ourselves with that, and then we rehearse it and sort of pressure test it. Sometimes, it goes on to the next phase of where we start tinkering with all the different parts respectively that we
Right.
play. Sometimes it goes back to the drawing board. But it makes me think back to the first time he put a demo in front of us, and it just like tickled some weird spot in our brain. We're like, yeah, this is what we want to do. And we're going to push those elements as far as possible to make them work, and do it really just to entertain ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. Are you planning on taking Melted Bodies on the road?
Yeah. Easier said than done, but yeah, we are planning to. I imagine it'll, take the shape of like short little spurts in different regions.
Right.
It's very cost prohibitive these days, but we want to do it, so we're gonna.
And there's sort of like an influx of bands, right? Because everybody was holed up for 2 years, and now they're all trying to get out there at the same time.
Yeah, it's insane, and it affects like music at every sort of scale. Every event you go to, behind the scenes, there was some form of struggle where people were trying to acquire gear, just production equipment and stuff like that. So the whole sort of industry is affected by sort of that backlog of shows that needed to take place. It's pretty wild.
But as a fan, it's difficult because you have limited funds, right? You can only go pick a couple of them, and sometimes they're on the same nights because there's so many people out there.
Yeah, as a fan myself, it was a lot, sort of like, because you're getting used to getting back out there on the social horse, and meanwhile you're just like so freaking inundated with all these things that you've been looking forward to for so long, and then they happen and you're fucking exhausted. But yeah, it's a weird time for music. I'm hoping that this is just a sign of how like the world sort of getting back on its feet, and things will kind of maybe mellow out a bit in terms of like consistency and scheduling for everybody's sake,
Yeah.
Bookers, venues, all the roadies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting because we've talked on this show quite a bit about how everybody being locked away and working on their instruments and honing their craft is like this artistic explosion, not just in music, but everywhere, right? I mean, some of the best albums from some of my favorite albums from my favorite bands have come out this year. I'm just amazed by the stuff. But you're going to see that in art and everywhere, right? Because everybody was holed up.
Yeah, it's funny. It's kind of like when you look at, like, not to get too esoteric, but like in geology, you see all like the layers of rock through the years of like sediment and stuff. And I feel like 2020, 2021 to 2022 is going to be this sort of very like significant layer and time and place.
Yeah.
Where a lot was like born out of it, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. Good time to live, I think.
In
some aspects, I guess.
No, I'd be lying if I didn't say, I was fortunate by, the setup I had through lockdown, where I was able to maintain a job and do it from home. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that I kind of had a great time. It was stressful. You were always worried about people, their safety,
right?
Your loved ones and everyone. And being risk averse gets boring after a while. But for the most part, I had a great time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting how that all worked out.
Yeah.
So that runs me to the end of my questions. Did I miss something you want to cover?
No, not really.
Fans find you.
They can find us at Melted Bodies on pretty much every platform. That's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're hoping to have some fun little treats for the fans that have been sort of, if you've been asking about it, then you know what we're talking about. But we have some fun treats coming that we're going to be releasing for sale before the end of the year. That's the goal, and I think a lot of people will listen to us will be happy about that.
Sweet. And it's just Melted. You said at Melted Bodies. Are you guys pretty active?
Yeah. We're pretty active mostly on Instagram. Trying to get the whole TikTok thing going. Feel like
so many of them.
Fucking
I've been talking today about I've been talking today. People are doing Twitch and all these other things now, so I can't.
Yeah, I mean that all that shit takes so much effort to
Yeah,
maintain because you're trying to build a community and keep it active.
right.
And I just wish I had, a clone of myself. I'm mostly the person who's like on social media. You'll definitely run into Andy, sometimes on there too. So if anybody who chats with us, you're talking my ass.
All right, cool. So before we go, I'm not sure if you're up for it, but I have a quick little game that I use for shorts on all those Instagrams that we just mentioned. It's fun. It is what it is. If you're interested, I'm going to show you a picture.
All right.
All I need you to do is tell me what's going on in the picture and what the next frame would be. Hold on 1 second. You should have it now. What do you see?
I see see a person in sort of a safety jacket, sitting cross-legged with either a pile of leaves in their hands and head or they're set ablaze. And then we've got like a floating Zippo, a gas can, and a little wood fire there up in the corner.
So what's going on in that pic? What do you think is the theme?
The theme, safety.
Fair enough. Sorry, these
Who made this? Wait, what was that? Who made that? What was I just looking at?
So it's very fucked up. My sister's a psychiatrist, and she's got all these tools they use for, I guess, evaluation. So it's probably a real thing. And if she ever sits down and watches these, she's going to probably diagnose everybody that's just volunteered. But I used to do the Rorschach test. Tell me what you see, and it got a lot of great traffic. So I switched to something else because it was getting old. And I have a new, so this is the theme for this week, this picture, but I have a dozen of them. So every time we record, I run it through the day.
I love that you're just sort of building this database of just like psychological data points on all of
Right.
musicians. Right.
And that's not really even the point, but they really do well. People love the short attention spans. People like my son, they have like the 30-second attention span. This is great.
That's so funny. Wait, do you guys still talk about food on these things?
So now, you know what? That was a pre-pandemic. I had a cooking show where people would on tour, everybody from, In Flames or whoever would show up at the house and we'd cook and then do these same interviews, but like while we're making grandma's chicken or whatever. But then the pandemic hit and nobody's touring.
Yeah.
I just pivoted to something else. So that's hence the name. So I've never had food on this on this podcast, but.
Well, what are you making these days?
I haven't really. Well, last night I made a pretty decent brisket on the smoker.
Oh,
I'm getting pretty good at it. Bought myself an electric smoker this time so I can keep the temp kind of constant.
Do you use Coca-Cola?
I've never used Coca-Cola. No, is that good?
Yeah, it can be. Do you use ketchup?
Oh, no. On a brisket? No. I guess it's tomato sauce, so yeah, why not? so really, you have sugar and tomatoes. It's just sugar, right?
Yeah,
so I guess basically I do then, because whenever I make my rub, I use brown sugar and everything because you get that caramelized.
Yeah, it's basically just sugar, tomato, and vinegar.
Yeah, so in a way, we're using the sugar to do the same thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Burnt caramelized ends.
Yeah, well, that's great. Nice. What do you have planned for your holiday meals? I'm just turning this around on you now.
No, that's great. I actually am going up to visit my mom in New York City, so I'm not sure what she's got going on.
Oh, nice. You're gonna be treated to dinner.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've never been disappointed at mom's dinner, and I haven't had it in a while, so it'll be good.
Nice. Wait, where do you live?
I'm in Richmond, Virginia, but my family's up. I lived in New York for 28 years.
Oh yeah, in the city or just the
Long
state?
Island.
Long Island. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. I actually am starting to develop a deep love for like upstate New York. My significant other, her dad, he's out in the city. And whenever we visit, we try to make it up to like, I don't know, Hudson Valley area.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's just so freaking pleasant up there. I was born in LA, but spent my formative years up in Oregon. So that I just
you got access to it, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's just nice and green up there, but then you have the city right by. I'm just wondering if that's the next move. What made you go to Richmond?
My wife, I was in the music business for the longest time as an engineer and a mastering engineer and whatever. But as you know, I worked at the Hit Factory and Soundtrack. All that stuff went away.
Mm,
And my wife got a better gig down here, and I just didn't want to be on the road or do any kind of live sound. So
yeah, I don't blame you.
just
Especially,
reinvented myself, then moved to Virginia. So,
hey, there you go.
and then I just do this stuff on the side, which is just as fun.
That's cool. Awesome.
So anyway, have a great holiday. Did I get you to do a bumper yet? I didn't, right?
I don't think so. No.
I'm just chatting now and lost track of my thoughts, but sweet. I think there's something to be said for themes of metalheads out in nature, right?
Yes, like nature. Yeah.
That's a great big part of the whole scene, right?
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, I'm an avid backpack. I mean, our whole most of our band are big outdoorsy people.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just like metal was bred out of like the woods of Nordic countries. So.
Yeah, I mean, you see those stupid memes all the time of the black metal bands all dressed in full makeup sitting out at like the falls or something. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I know. It looks. I mean, it's everything I want.
Yeah, you are right. Absolutely. Well, cool, man. I appreciate you taking the time. Hope that wasn't too bad.
No, of course. Thank you so much. You have a good day.
Hey, happy holidays. We'll talk to you soon.
You too. Bye.
All right, be well.